everyone should have these notes in front of them. So what we've been doing so far has been slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form. That's our y equals mx plus b. Today what we're learning is a new form, a new way to write the equation of a line, and it's called standard form. We don't use this one as often, but this one is beneficial because you can quickly get your x and y intercepts from it, so it's a helpful form for us. But before we had slope-intercept. Go ahead and write this at the top of your paper. Slope-intercept form, and that was y equals mx plus b. And guess what? It gave you your slope, m, and your y-intercept, p. So this one here, you have to memorize this guy. Standard form. And that is ax plus by equals c. So x is still x, and y is still y. A, b, and c are just coefficients, or just numbers. So it might be like 2x plus 3y equals 8. It doesn't give you your slope. It doesn't give you your y-intercept. You would have to find that information. Now there are two rules about our standard form. All right. So we need to always have it in this format here. And then we also have a, b, and c have to be integers. Who remembers what it means to be an integer? Whole number, what is that? Can you guys give me some examples?
A negative number.
What?
A negative number.
Negatives are included in integers. Give me some examples of what is a...
Negative 69.
Okay. Give me some other examples. Is 2.8 an integer?
No.
Nope. Is 1/3 an integer?
No.
Is 5 an integer?
Yes.
Yeah, so no decimals, right? No fractions. Okay. So our first rule is talking about a. This is what we call our leading coefficient, meaning it's the first coefficient you see. So our first rule is that our leading coefficient, that's just the number in front of x, must always be positive. So a cannot be negative. And then as we said, a, b, and c, so these numbers here, must be integers. So that means no decimals and no fractions.
But it can be negative.
Yep. B and C can be negatives, but there's no decimals or fractions. So what we have to do is we need to first get rid of fractions or decimals, and then just move things to be in this format. X has to come first, and y has to come second. And then our constant is going to be at the end. Okay, so it has to be in this format. So x is always going to be first, y is always going to be second. All right. So our first ones here, all we have to simply do is get it in that format. So I'm just going to rewrite it so I can scroll down a little more. So standard form again is ax plus by equals c. Okay. First of all, for number 1, do I have any fractions or decimals? Nope. Sweet. So we've already got that part done. So next, let's go ahead and make it so that x comes first, then y, then c. All right, Trey, put it away, please. What are you listening to? Nothing. It's not even plugged in. What? Your earbuds, please. Thank you. Man, Max did a scan around the room. Thank you. Okay. So notice my 3 came first. I want my x first. So how do I, here's my equal sign. How do I move my x to the other side? It's a negative 4x.
So you add 4.
So we're going to add 4x to both sides. All right, so I have positive 4x. And then I have, what's it, plus 3 minus y equals 3. Okay.
Wait, why did you put this plus? Where did the plus 3 come from?
There was already a 3 starting out. So I still have my 3. I haven't moved it yet. I want to move it. I just haven't moved it yet. Okay, so I've got my x and I've got my y on the left side. But I don't want my number 3 here. So how do I move my 3 over? Subtracted. Right, we're crossing that equal sign. So I have 4x minus y equals 0 minus 3, negative 3. Just double check real quick. First x, then y, and our constant. And let's make sure, is my x value positive? Yeah, so here's our answer. Now you are welcome to go ahead and move both things at the same time. If you're still a little iffy on that, do it with just one at a time. But some of you will be like, oh, I need to move the 4x and I need to subtract the 3. If you want to do it all at once, that's fine. Okay, let's take a look at number 2. All right, x is on the left, awesome, but I want my y on the left, so I need to subtract my y over. So I have x minus y equals, what was y minus y? What does that give us? 0. All right, I have x, I have y, equals my constant. I'm done.
That's it?
All right, let's do something a little more exciting.
Fine.
Let's do 3.
Let's do number 5.
You give us the most complicated.
No, just a little. All right. So, and I need my 9 to be on the other side and my 5x to be on the left side. Again, if you're able to do both at once, you are welcome to do so. I'm going to do it just one at a time. I'm going to go ahead and add my 9 over.
Doesn't matter what way you do it.
Nah. You could have subtracted your x first. So I have y equals 5x. That's 9. And then I need my x. So again, x and y are on the left side. So I'm going to subtract my 5x over. And I want to write the x first. So I have negative 5x comes first. Then I have a positive y equals a positive 9. So I subtracted my 5x over and added my 9 over. Am I done here?
What happens
No,
if
what's
you did
it?
it the opposite way?
You still do the same thing. If you subtracted your 5x first, you still have a negative 5x. Add your 9 second, you still have a positive 9. So what's the problem with this? Because we're not done. There's an issue with it.
X is in the negative.
Yeah, the x value is negative. So whenever you have the x value is negative, just multiply both sides by negative 1. Yeah, just multiply both sides by negative 1.
Including the y.
Everything. You have to distribute it. So when we distribute, what's negative 1 times negative 5? Positive 5. What's negative 1 times positive 1, 1? What's a negative times positive? Negative, so we just have negative y. And what's positive 9 times negative 1? Negative 9. Notice all that did was it just switched your signs. Instead of negative, it's now positive. Instead of positive, now negative. Instead of positive, now negative. So all that does is just switch all your signs around. Now it's positive x. We have our y and equals x. Okay. So those ones all didn't have fractions. Awesome. You just have to move it and get rid of negative for your x. But if we take a look at number 6, number 4, 5, those all have fractions. So let's take a look at how we deal with
So you
that.
can't do that, right?
Well, we just have to get rid of the fraction. Yeah. So everyone, you can do it.
No, we can't.
Yes, you can. All right.
No.
So I see a fraction. The best way to get rid of that fraction. So we are currently dividing by 3. What's the opposite of dividing? Multiplying. So what you want to do is, and you have to do this on both sides, is just multiply by that. Ooh, what do we call that number that's in the bottom? Denominator. Good math word. So I'm going to multiply both sides by that denominator. So multiply by 3. All right, so over here I have 3y. And we do have to distribute. Going back to unit 1, you have to distribute. You can use your calculators to help you out, but I'm just going to let you know negative 1/3 times 3 is negative 1. So negative 1x. And then 2 times 3 is 6. Look, no fractions. So nice. So just multiply by that denominator. Get rid of that fraction. Okay. So now we just have to get it in the proper order. I need x first. So I'm going to add my x over. I want x first, that's a positive x. 3y is positive 3y. And I'm left with positive 6. And we're done. So fractions really aren't that bad. You just have to multiply by your denominator, get rid of it.
How about if your y is a fraction also?
Oh, so what if they also gave us another fraction? So let's take a look at number 4. There's 2 different fractions there. Okay? We're just going to do the same process. We just might have to do it more than once. When there's more than one fraction, I recommend multiply by the bigger number. Sometimes that gets rid of both of them. Sometimes not. Gabby, off your phone. So I would recommend multiply by the bigger number first. If you don't, it's fine. So I'm going to go and multiply by 4 on both sides. Zoom in some so you guys can see a little better. Okay, so I have 4 times y is 4y. And again, I have to distribute. Use your calculator to help you out. 4 times 1/2 is 2.
Wait, are you getting rid of the y first or what?
I'm just getting rid of my fraction, so I'm getting rid of that denominator. I'm multiplying by the biggest denominator to get rid of it.
How do you take the y?
But I have to do it on both sides. So I have to multiply by 4 over here, and I have to multiply by 4 over there. So the only reason why y has a 4 now is because I'm multiplying by 4 to get rid of my denominator.
How'd you get a 2?
1/2 times 4.
What did you have to do the 2 times? Wouldn't you have to use a half denominator?
So 1/2 times 4 is the same thing as saying 4 is 1. So we multiply it straight across, so we get 4 over 2, which is 2.
Yeah, but like I'm talking about like the x value. Wouldn't you have to use the 2?
Oh, you mean multiply by 2? You could start off with that. So sometimes you have to multiply by both denominators, but I recommend start off with the bigger one because sometimes that will get rid of the other denominator as well. Like it did here. When I multiply by 4, look, there's no longer a fraction here. So you could start off by 2, you just then have to do it again.
Oh.
So I recommend using the bigger number first because sometimes that gets rid of both. I see what you're saying now. Okay, so I have 1/2 times 4 gives me 2x.
Sorry.
Random dance party. Negative 3/4 times 4 gives me negative 3. Okay, so we got rid of our fraction. That's awesome. Using the bigger denominator got rid of both fractions. That won't always happen, but sometimes it does. That's why I like to use the bigger one first. Okay,
Minus.
and then subtract the
2x.
2x. Good.
I'm trying to erase it.
Well, when will you learn to just ask me for one?
When I do it.
So I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. So again, we want the x first, because our standard form equation is ax plus by equals c. So I want the x first. My x is negative 2x. And y, which is positive 4y, equals, and we have left negative. Okay, so we have it in the right order, but we've got to get rid of that negative. So multiply both sides by negative 1. And just distribute. So it gives us a positive 2x, a negative 4y, and a positive 3. Just flips your sides.
Wait, how did it become positive 3?
Is it negative 3 times negative 1 gives you positive?
Why did you multiply?
To get rid of my negative, I have to multiply by negative 1 on both sides. Alright, do we have questions so far?
So if you have a negative number, you have to multiply by 1.
If your very first one.
How about if your y is? That's fine.
That's fine. The only one that has to be positive is A. So if anything else is negative, that's fine. You don't have to change it.
This is scary.
Alright, now number 5. Andrew.
Peeps rolling.
Is that what you were doing?
Yes.
Alright, so number 5, we have two fractions. Again, we want to start off with the larger number. So what's my larger denominator, 5 or 2? 5. So let's go multiply both sides by 5. And again, we have to distribute, so I get 2x. Now when we multiply here, we still have a fraction. Use your calculator to help you out with that, but you still have a fraction. That's okay, we'll deal with it. And then we get 30. So sometimes using the bigger number gets rid of both, but not always. So if you still have a fraction, that's fine. You're just going to repeat. What's my only denominator here? Yeah, so I still have to get rid of this guy. So just the same thing. Multiply both sides by that denominator. So 2 times 2 gives me 4x. Now that will make it so we have just negative 5y, so no more fraction, equals 70. My x is already positive. I already have the x, y constant, so now I'm done.
So you don't want like any like fractions.
I don't want any fractions.
So you would multiply by the denominator.
Yep, until the fractions go away. Yep. Now you probably won't have to do it. The most you would have to do is 3 times. But we probably wouldn't make it do that.
Wait. How does the 5 over 2 become 5?
2 times negative 5 halves gives you just a negative 5.
That's to get rid of that, right?
Yeah, and that's why we multiplied by our denominator so that we could get rid of that.
How will we do decimals?
Great question. Let's take a look at our next problem. Oh, looky. Whoops. Oh, looky there. There's a decimal. So let's take a look at number 6. So to deal with decimals, you just multiply by either 10, or 100, or 1,000. So let's look and see. For number 6, how much is there after the decimal? Let's see, just one, and just one after the decimal, right? So there's just one after the decimal. So that means I'm going to, so when there's 1 after the decimal, and that means I'm going to multiply by 10. 1 after the decimal means 1 0. Let's say there were 2 after the decimal. Then we're going to multiply by 2 zeros, 100. So if you think about it, this is 3/10, so I'm going to multiply by 10. If I had, let's say, 0.25x, that would be 25 hundredths, so I would multiply by 100. If you're not sure, just multiply by 10, and if there's still decimals, multiply by 10 again. If there's still decimals, multiply by 10 again. Alright, so here I just have 1 after the decimal, so I'm going to multiply both sides by 10. Andrew, are you with us, my dear?
Yes.
Good. Are you distracted with those around you?
No.
Gabby, are you doing okay? Great stuff.
You get 3.
Okay, we get 3x minus 4y equals 75. So multiply by 10. If there's still some decimals, just do it again. Anthony, put away your phone. Okay, x came first, then y. Then our constant, there's no negative x, so we're done. The decimal ones are actually pretty nice.
What would you do for the other number 4? There's more than
Sure,
one.
let's take a look at it. This guy here?
Yeah.
So let's take a look at this number 4. So I just simply need to get it in this format here.
Oh, so you just minus 4.
Subtract 4x. So I get minus 4x plus y equals 0. So that I can't have that negative. How do I get, I know you love the negatives.
Times 1 negative 1.
Multiply by negative 1 on both sides. And we get 4x minus y. What is 0 times negative
But
1?
you had to times
0.
How would you get minus 1?
Because you have to distribute it.
Oh.
Everything is multiplied by negative. But good, you guys said 0, that's great. Number 3.
When will I use this in the future?
Depends on what you plan on doing in the future.
Oh, because
Specifically, next year you'll use it, and then the year after that.
How about career-wise?
It depends on your kid. Jonathan, put it away. Alright, so for number 3, again, we just have to get it into form A.
Well,
We just have to get the form ax plus by equals c. So I need to add my 2x. Add my 2x. Alright, we gotta move our x over.
oh, that's easy then. You just move it over, you get 2x plus y, right?
Yeah.
Equals
Equals 3. It already is an xy constant, and it's positive. We're done. Okay, let's flip it to the back side. So we can do a little more of the decimals there for number 7.
You have to do this on a graph too.
Those ones are really easy. Those ones are really easy. Alright, number 7. So again, you can just multiply by 10. If there's still decimals, multiply by 10 again. But if you work smarter, not harder, see how it's 2 after the decimal place here?
500.
There's 2 after the decimal place, there's 2 after the decimal place. So I'm going to multiply by 100. 2 zeros, 2 after the decimal place. So I'm going to do that on both sides.
You get 6.
So I get 60x equals 213y plus 180.
The numbers become big.
Do. Okay. So now I just need to get x, then y equals constant.
But
So we already have x on the left side. I still need y on the left side.
minus y. Minus 213.
So I'm going to subtract 213y. So I have 60x minus 213y equals 184. Just double check. X, y equals constant. My x is positive. So I'm done.
Oh, what if it has ordered pairs?
Great question. It's like you're looking at what's next. Alright, do you have any questions on number 7? Okay. So now, everyone's favorite kind. 8 and 9. They didn't give us an equation. Which means we have to first come up with the equation. So just like math has been all your life, what we learned last class, you use for today's class. So what we have to do is write our equation in slope-intercept form. We have to first put it in this. And we've been doing this for quite a few days now. And then once you have an equation, then you can put it in standard form. Alright, so y equals mx plus b. My m is 4. My x is 6. And my y is negative 7. So I'm just going to go ahead and put in those numbers. A negative 7 equals 4 times 6 plus b. I don't know b. So I have to solve for b here. I'm just plugging in what I do know.
Wait, why is there negative 7?
Because that is what
Oh,
y
that's your y.
equals.
But what in your y? Oh no, I should change.
Alright, so we get negative 7. Sorry, my belt isn't board. Okay, so negative 7. 4 times 6.
24.
It's b. Now we just solve for b. Negative 24. Negative 24. Alright, what is negative 7 minus 24? Who can impress me? Or use your calculator?
27 minus 4.
Negative 31. Who was it that just impressed me? That was not your voice.
Angelica.
That's my voice.
You did not say it. Who was it? Was it you? Was it you, Jonathan? Jonathan, you don't never talk to me.
That was me.
Who said it?
That was me.
Angelica? I heard more than one person say it. Good work. Alright, so we have our b value is negative 31. So now we can just go and put it into our equation. We have our b value. We have our m value. So y equals m is 4x. My b value is negative 31. So now we have equation, we just have to move stuff around to get it in standard form. Alright, I need my x to go to the left.
So we still, after making that y mx plus b equation, we still have to do that.
You have to first get y equals mx plus b, then do standard form. Alright, so I have negative 4x. Y is positive. I get negative 31. And we're almost done. What do I have to do still?
Times 1.
Times negative 1.
Wait, why do you have to times by negative 1?
Because I can't have that first one be negative.
Okay.
Alright, so I get positive 4x,
Then a
negative
y.
y, positive 31. It just simply changes all of your signs. Now we're done. So that's what we did last class and the class before, but now we just have to do one more step. Okay, just stay.
2 ordered pairs though.
Oh man, 2 ordered pairs. That means we have to do the most work. Alright, I have to find slope first. That's always my first thing, find slope. So my slope equation y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Alright, so my slope, y minus y, negative 10 minus 5, over x minus x, 3 minus negative 2. You can use your calculator or use your noggin. I get negative 15 over 5, so negative 3. Okay, so I have my slope, just like we did the last few classes. And my equation here, fill in what we have. I have slope, I have x, I have y. You get to pick which point. I just use the first one. So my y value is 5. My slope is negative 3. My x value is negative 2. And I don't know my b. So I'm just plugging in my y, my m, and my x. Questions on what I'm substituting in there to find b?
That's a process.
It is a process. The older you get, the more we make you do.
Yay, more torture.
Exactly. Less recess.
Wait a minute.
But you get to walk outside between classes. That's your recess in high school.
10 minutes.
Not even 10 minutes.
Alright. Negative 3 times negative 2 is positive 6. Subtract my 6. So I get negative 1 equals b. So I have my b. I have my slope. Let's just print our equation.
So it'd be y equals 3x minus 1.
Negative 3x, good. Minus 1.
Then we got a plus 3
Good. I have to move my x over, so add 3x.
and
Add 3x.
3x plus y equals negative 1.
Yes, you said it correctly. I wrote it incorrectly. Sorry. 3x plus y equals negative 1. So those are the different types you'll have for standard form. They'll either give you the equation and you have to move it, or you have to first write the equation like we did for 8 and 9, and then move it. Just make sure you remember a must be positive and no fractions. Okay, so this next part here is actually just review. This takes us back to Bucks and Hoy. Who remembers what Bucks means? What does that tell us?
Verb undefined.
Yeah, so it's a vertical line. It's undefined slope. So undefined.
X.
And it's going to be x equals some number. So what does Hoy tell us?
Horizontal.
Good. Horizontal line.
0 slope.
Good. Slope equals 0.
Y-axis.
It's going to be y equals some number.
Okay.
So if I take a look at number 10, are these horizontal or vertical lines?
Horizontal.
Horizontal. So I'm going to be using Hoy, which means it's y equals. I have y equals, y equals, y equals. All right, let's take a look at line A. What does y equal here? 4. 4.
Or
We're done. All right, line B. What does B equal? Our y by there is what? We're done. For C, what does y equal here?
-3.
-3. We're done.
Isn't a box harder to multiply?
No, it's not more work. Would you guys agree that number 11 has vertical lines?
Mhm.
So it's bucks. So that means these are x equals. Alright, Andrew. What is my x value for D?
Jesus.
Andrew, what's my x value for D?
-5.
Okay. What is my x value for E?
-2 and 3.
Person
Oh, that was slight.
So let's just review your bucks and dollars. So down here, for 12, 13, and 14, it's the same information. They just present differently. Right? The equation of the horizontal line and the vertical line that goes to the point. So vertical line is bucks. So I want x equals.
X equals 3.
X equals 3. That's my x value.
Y equals 1.
And horizontal is poi. So y equals, my y value is 1. Next we have to remember bucks and points. So vertical, bucks, x equals. Horizontal, poi, y equals. Alright, for my vertical line, for number 13, what does x equal here?
Wrong.
-2. What's my horizontal line? Y equals what?
Y equals 7.
Alright, so again, bucks, x equals, poi, y equals. So for number 14, x equals what? -5, good. And y equals? Negative. So, bucks and poi, just reminder, refresher.
So
Okay?
are we supposed to do ordered pairs with?
So 15, 16, and 17 are just what we did above. So we had ordered pairs here, just like we did with our ordered pairs for 8 and 9. So for 15, 16, and 17, again, you have to first put it in y equals mx plus b. So first find your slope. Once you have that, plug in your y, plug in your n, plug in your x.
Oh no.
Solve for your b, write it, and then put the standard form. So it's just what we did. This is same as number 8 and 9. Questions with that? Okay. So you look at that, get me your stinger. So I've got some practice for you to do here.
No.
We're not gonna go on the computer.
No. Although there are a few of you that need to do your e-card, you guys will be doing your e-card.
Our kids will still don't know.
What is this all the things we oh, this is homework.
Okay, so I'm passing out worksheet 13 to you. This is what you'll work on during stinger. So those of you that need to make up stuff.
Wait, you didn't get one. Wait, why did she just not?
Go ahead and hold on to your practices for now, because you'll use it to work on this practice during stinger. I'll put them back at the end of stinger.
Do this one too many.
Thank you. Yeah. It's practice / homework. So I'm basically giving you time to work on your homework.
No, I'm not doing it.